the autumn sky over Boston was covered with dim, heavy clouds. Olivia Clark felt the weight of the tote bag on her shoulder as she climbed the stairs to her family home. Inside the bag was a scholarship approval notice from the university's accounting department. That notice was supposed to change her life. When Olivia opened the front door and called out, "I'm home," only the sound of the television came back from the living room. As she stepped into the house, she saw her sister Brooke lying on the sofa, fiddling with her smartphone. Brooke still lived at home and didn't have a steady job. "Brooke, where's Mom?" Olivia asked. Without even looking up, Brooke answered, "In the kitchen, isn't she?" Her voice, as usual, revealed her lack of interest in her sister. Olivia headed to the kitchen. Martha was preparing dinner while listening to a talk show on a small radio. Her expression was always gentle, especially when talking about Brooke. Her eyes would light up. However, when it came to Olivia, her expression subtly changed. Instead of expectation or joy, it took on more of an evaluating, judgmental tone. "Mom, I have good news," Olivia said with a slightly nervous voice. Martha stopped chopping vegetables and asked, "What is it?" Her voice lacked the enthusiasm Olivia had hoped for. "I got the accounting department scholarship," Olivia said with a smile. "It's a full scholarship. It covers all tuition and dormitory fees." Martha briefly said, "Oh, that's nice," and resumed chopping vegetables. It was a surprisingly curt response, in stark contrast to Olivia's excitement. "This is a big deal. There were hundreds of applicants." "I know, Olivia," Martha cut her off. "But isn't accounting such a boring job? I think you're better suited for—" She paused as if choosing her words carefully. "A job that supports family." Olivia managed a bitter smile. Her mother had always tried to fit her into the role of the reliable eldest daughter. Since high school, she had helped with housework, assisted her father with his work, and cleaned up after Brooke. Her dreams and desires had always come second. "Where's Dad?" Olivia changed the subject. "He's making something in the garage," Martha answered. "Your father just can't sit still, even after retirement." Olivia left the kitchen with mixed feelings. She had really wanted her mother to be happier for her. This scholarship was the result of years of hard work. She had worked as an assistant at a local accounting firm during the day, studied preliminary courses at a community college at night, and finally managed to secure both a transfer to a prestigious university and a scholarship. In the garage, her father Gerald was absorbed in repairing an old chair. Even after retirement, Gerald never stopped working with his hands. Having worked in accounting for a local small business, at home he was always someone who followed her mother's decisions. "Dad," Olivia called out. "I got the accounting department scholarship." Gerald looked up from his work and gave her a warm smile. "Congratulations, Olivia. I knew you could do it." His proud expression warmed Olivia's heart. Her father recognized her efforts. However, his next words diminished that warmth. "It's just that your mother, she's worried about Brooke. She thinks she needs educational opportunities too." Olivia couldn't hide her confused expression. "But Brooke didn't want to go to college. She dropped out 3 times. "I know," Gerald raised his hand. "But this time is different. She's started to show interest in marketing. Your mother thinks that's a field where she can use her talents." Olivia said nothing. She knew her parents, especially her mother, doted on Brooke. Her sister had been spoiled growing up and never learned to take responsibility for her actions. While Olivia worked hard, Brooke always received special treatment. At dinner, Martha suddenly started talking about Brooke's new dream. "Brookie says she wants to study marketing. Isn't that wonderful? With her sense and sociability, she's sure to succeed." Brooke said proudly, "I want to become a brand manager for a famous company. You know, one that handles celebrities." Olivia continued eating in silence. She couldn't imagine how long this new dream of her sister's would last. In the past, she had changed her dreams from photographer to interior designer to fashion blogger, one after another. And each time, her parents prepared expensive equipment or tuition fees to match her new interests. By the way, Martha said in a casual tone, Olivia, I've been thinking about your scholarship. Olivia stopped her chopsticks. She sensed something unsettling in her mother's tone. I think your scholarship would be helpful for Brooke to study marketing. You already have work experience, so you can manage tuition on your own, right? Olivia stared at her mother in disbelief. Mom, that's my scholarship. I earned it. But family helps each other, don't they? Martha said in a gentle, lecturing tone. Brooke has special talents. She has a future. Olivia's heart froze at those words. Are you saying I don't have a future? That's not what I meant, Martha said apologetically. It's just that you're practical and steady, so you can manage on your own, right? Brooke is more delicate. A heavy silence fell on the table. Gerald looked away, and Brooke smiled while fiddling with her smartphone. Olivia could feel her own heartbeat in her ears. For 34 years, she had been expected to be the good daughter, the reliable sister. And now, even the ticket to her dreams was supposed to be given to her sister. That night, Olivia returned to her small apartment and sat by the window, looking at the city lights. Tomorrow, she would need to call the university to check on the scholarship. But her heart had already decided. This time, just this once, she would take back control of her own life. Olivia's cell phone rang during her lunch break at the accounting firm. She hesitated for a moment at the unknown number but answered. This is Janet Reed from Weston University's accounting department. Olivia straightened her posture. I'm calling to confirm a request from your mother to change the scholarship recipient. Olivia's hand trembled. Change the recipient? Yes. Documentation has been submitted to change it to your sister, Brooke Clark. According to scholarship regulations, we need your consent, which is why I'm calling to confirm. Olivia's heart started racing. She remembered the conversation at dinner last night. She recalled her mother mentioning Brooke's scholarship, but she hadn't thought she would proceed with the paperwork without consulting her. I do not consent, Olivia said in a hoarse voice. This must be some mistake. There was a brief silence on the other end of the phone. I see. This might be a family issue. The documents have your signature, but... My signature? Olivia stood up from her chair. That's forged. I didn't sign anything. I'm very sorry. I wasn't aware of those circumstances. We'll put this change request on hold. I recommend you discuss this with your family again. After hanging up, Olivia grabbed her bag with trembling hands, told her boss she had an emergency, and rushed out of the office. 20 minutes later, she parked her car in front of her family home. Opening the front door, she heard Martha and Brooke's laughter from the living room. The two were pointing at something in a magazine. This is my new dorm. It's a single room, right in the center of campus, Brooke said happily. Lovely. It's perfect for you, Martha responded. Olivia stomped into the living room. What are you doing? The two looked up at Olivia with surprised expressions. Olivia? What are you doing here at this hour? What about work? Martha asked. I got a call from the university, Olivia's voice was as cold as ice. They said there was an application to change the recipient of my scholarship. Martha averted her eyes for a moment. Oh, that. I was thinking of your best interests. Did you forge my signature? I thought you would understand. Martha stood up and approached her daughter. We're family, so it's natural to help each other, right? Help each other? This is theft, Mom. You tried to steal the scholarship I worked years for without even telling me? Don't talk like that. Martha's voice rose. Academic studies aren't right for you. Your sister should use it. Those words felt like a stab in Olivia's chest. Not right for me? After studying in night courses for 4 years, working during the day, and finally getting a scholarship? But you already have a job, Martha said defensively. Brooke has a future. Brooke stood up from the sofa and looked at Olivia with a mocking expression. Better than wasting money on a loser, right? Go stick to cleaning. Brooke. Martha scolded her, but only for form's sake. Her eyes showed secret agreement. Olivia was speechless. Is this her family? Were her efforts, her dreams, even her life worth less than her sister's whimsical wishes? The sound of the front door opening was heard, and Gerald came home. What's going on? Olivia, at this hour. He noticed the tense atmosphere in the living room. Dad, did you know? Olivia turned to her father. That mom forged documents to transfer my scholarship to Brooke? Gerald looked at his wife with a confused expression. Martha? What did you do? I explained it to you, Martha said to her husband. That Brooke is worth the educational investment. Olivia already has a job and... But you didn't say you forged anything. Gerald raised his voice unusually. Martha shrugged. It was necessary. Olivia wouldn't have agreed. Of course not. Olivia said, trembling with anger. Don't decide my life for me. A heavy silence fell on the living room. Olivia looked at each family member's face, her mother's obstinate expression, Brooke's indifferent attitude, and her father's weak concern. Were they really her family? People who wished for her happiness? I see, Olivia said quietly. In that quietness, it was as if the sound of something decisively breaking could be heard. So you'll give up the scholarship? Brooke asked hopefully. No, Olivia said firmly. I'm not suited for academic studies, right? Then I'm also not suited for taking care of the family anymore. She headed for the door. Martha hurriedly called out, Where are you going? Olivia didn't look back. I'm going to live my own life. Leaving the house, Olivia got into her car and started the engine. Looking at her family home in the rearview mirror, tears rolled down her cheeks for the first time. But within those tears, a new determination was born. Never again would she let anyone determine her worth. She had to forge her own path. Please vacate by tomorrow. Olivia read the notice from the dormitory manager over and over. It said that her mother had contacted the university, informed them of her scholarship withdrawal, so the dormitory fees would no longer be paid. With her meager savings, she couldn't afford both tuition and dormitory fees for the next semester. She sat down on the campus lawn, at a loss. Are you okay? A kind voice asked. When she turned around, there was Lauren, an older student from the same accounting department. Olivia explained her situation with a bitter smile. That's terrible, Lauren said, looking indignant. But I might be able to help you. The hotel where I work is looking for a live-in staff member. The pay isn't much, but it includes room and board. That night, Olivia had an interview with the HR manager of the Bayview Hotel where Lauren worked. It was small but a historic luxury hotel with strict standards for staff. Olivia's politeness and enthusiasm were appreciated, and she was hired as a maid. The shift starts at 5 in the morning and lasts until afternoon, said hotel manager Davis. On days when there are fewer guests, you might finish earlier, but most days it takes until afternoon. After that, you have free time. But please keep quiet in the hotel after 11 at night. Olivia was shown to a small attic room. The window was small, and the furniture was minimal, but for her, it was a sanctuary. She hung a calendar on the wall and wrote in her class schedule. She began a life of finishing her morning shift, attending afternoon classes, and studying at the library at night. The first few weeks were hell. Wake up at 4, change into uniform, clean 15 guest rooms. Change sheets, scrub bathrooms, collect garbage, replenish amenities. Quickly eat lunch, run to campus, slide into class. Study at the library at night, return to her room exhausted, sleep for a few hours. And then the same cycle begins again. Olivia, do you have a moment? One day, Davis called her to the office. You seem tired lately. I'm fine, Olivia forced a smile. Just not used to it yet. Don't push yourself too hard, Davis said with concern. Dedicated kids like you are valuable, but it's pointless if you get sick. From that day on, Davis adjusted Olivia's shifts a bit. The heaviest work was concentrated on weekends, making weekdays a little easier. Still, Olivia's life was tough. About a month later, Olivia became friendly with Rose, the hotel's accountant. In her 60s, she had worked at the hotel for over 20 years after losing her husband. "I hear you're studying accounting," Rose visited Olivia's room one day. "I could use some help with a few things." From then on, Olivia spent a few hours each week helping in Rose's office. It was an opportunity to learn practical skills in bookkeeping, invoice processing, and budget management basics. She acquired practical skills that couldn't be learned from textbooks. "You have a knack for this," Rose said, watching Olivia quickly grasp complex accounting categories. "You pick things up faster than I did in college." "It's thanks to you, Rose," Olivia smiled. "You're a wonderful teacher." Winter passed, and spring arrived. Olivia's life was still busy, but a routine had formed, and she was gradually finding some breathing room. Her first semester grades were excellent, and she started to get noticed by professors. Then one day, Olivia found a way to improve the hotel's accounting system. "Rose, I think the connection between the reservation management and accounting systems is inefficient," she said modestly. "There's too much double entry." Rose showed interest. "How do you think it could be improved?" Olivia explained her idea. It was a concept to automatically import accounting data from the reservation system, reducing staff work hours and also decreasing errors. "This is wonderful," Rose's eyes lit up. "Let's propose it to Davis." Davis was also impressed with Olivia's idea and arranged an opportunity for her to present it to the hotel owners. Nervously, Olivia gave a presentation that combined her university learning with practical experience at the hotel. "There will be implementation costs, but they can be recovered within a year through reduced personnel costs and increased efficiency," she explained confidently. "Moreover, customer satisfaction will improve." After discussion, the owners decided to adopt Olivia's proposal. Even more surprisingly, she was appointed as the project manager for the system implementation. "It's your idea. You understand it best," Davis said. "Of course, as long as it doesn't interfere with your studies." The project was a success. The new system dramatically improved the hotel's efficiency and was well received by the staff. Olivia's reputation spread, and she began receiving requests for advice from other hotels. 6 months before graduation, Davis called Olivia. "I need to talk to you." In the office, besides Davis, there were Rose and a middle-aged man in a suit. "This is Jonathan Williams, the CFO of Central Hospitality Group, which includes our hotel." Jonathan stood up and shook hands with Olivia. "I'm very impressed with the system you developed. We're considering implementing it across our entire group." Olivia was surprised. "Thank you. I'm honored." "Actually, Olivia," Davis continued, "we'd like you to work as a financial consultant for our company after graduation. Talent like yours is rare." Olivia was almost speechless. "But I still lack experience." "You have plenty of experience," Jonathan said. "And more importantly, you have creativity and execution skills. Those can't be taught." An even more surprising proposal followed. Jonathan revealed that investors were showing interest in Olivia's system. There was potential to develop it into new accounting and reservation management software that could be used throughout the hotel industry. "This isn't just a job offer," Jonathan said with a serious expression. "Would you like to start a new business with us?" In Olivia's mind, the struggles of the past year flashed by like a series of images. Her family's betrayal, eviction from the dormitory, exhausting days. But at the same time, Rose's teachings, Davis's trust, and her own growth. She smiled. "Let me think about it." That night, looking up at the starry sky from the small window of her attic room, Olivia thought to herself. Once told she wasn't suited for academic studies, she had now developed a system that was attracting industry attention. From Olivia's office window, Boston's vibrant financial district could be seen. 6 years after graduation, having worked at Central Hospitality Group, she had established her own company, Clark Financial Systems. The hotel accounting management system Integra she developed had become an industry standard, and she now also provided consulting to various companies. "Olivia, here are the materials for the 2 o'clock meeting," her assistant Tara came in. "Also, you have a personal call. Should I put it on hold?" "Who is it from?" Olivia asked while looking through the documents. "A gentleman named Gerald Clark. Your father, I believe." Olivia's hand stopped. There had been no contact from her father for 6 years. After leaving home, she had completely cut ties with her parents and Brooke. She returned Christmas and birthday cards and blocked her family on social media. It was a necessary choice to start a new life. "Put him through." Olivia took a deep breath. "Olivia?" Her father's voice came through the receiver. It was a tired, aged voice unlike ever before. "What is it, Dad?" she asked, suppressing her emotions. "There's something I need to talk to you about." Gerald's voice was faltering. "Could you meet with me?" Olivia was about to refuse, but something in her father's voice, desperation, stopped her. "What happened?" "It's difficult over the phone," Gerald said. "Please, Olivia." The next day, Olivia parked her car at her suburban family home. The garden, once well-maintained, was now unkempt, and the house's exterior looked faded. The paint on the front door was peeling, and one window had a crack. Olivia was shocked by Gerald's appearance when he opened the door. In just 6 years, her father had aged into a different person. His back was bent, and deep wrinkles lined his face. "Olivia, thank you for coming," Gerald smiled, but his eyes were filled with fatigue rather than joy. Stepping into the living room, that too had changed drastically. What was once a clean and orderly space was now cluttered and dim. Magazines and newspapers were piled up, and empty pizza boxes were scattered around. "Where's Mom?" Olivia asked. "She went shopping," Gerald said. "To pick up Brooke." Olivia frowned. "Is Brooke still living at home?" "No." Gerald sighed. "It's a long story. Would you sit down?" They sat facing each other at the kitchen table. Gerald poured coffee with trembling hands. "After you left, Brooke went to college using the scholarship," he began. "She didn't do well. She was expelled in the 3rd semester." "Again, huh?" Olivia said sarcastically. "Yes, again," Gerald smiled bitterly. "But this time was different. She had some problems." Gerald explained. Brooke had started associating with upper-class students at the university and tried to match their standard of living by getting multiple credit cards. Luxury brands, expensive restaurants, weekend trips, her spending didn't stop. And eventually, she resorted to fraudulent activities to pay off the cards. She was using her friend's card information to shop. Gerald lowered his voice. The university expelled her instead of reporting her to the police. But the debt remained. "How much?" Olivia asked. "Initially, it was $150,000, Gerald looked up. "We paid it with a second mortgage on the house. But that was just the beginning." Brooke returned home and swore to her parents that she was sorry. But a few months later, she started making cards again. This time in her parents' names. By the time we realized, it was too late. Gerald's voice was shaking. There was over $200,000 in debt. We set up a repayment plan, but... He explained. They had depleted his retirement funds and sold stocks and insurance policies. Even so, they couldn't keep up, and now the house was about to be foreclosed. "I should have taken responsibility," Gerald said. "I should have spoken up more strongly. I should have opposed Martha." Olivia said nothing. As she listened to her father's confession, complex emotions swirled within her. "And now?" Gerald stammered. "Brooke has caused problems again. She used a friend's credit card to spend a large sum at a luxury spa. The friend reported it to the police. She's been released on bail but is awaiting trial. The sound of the door opening was heard. Martha and Brooke entered with shopping bags. They froze at the sight of Olivia. You. Martha dropped her shopping bags. She too looked aged. Her former elegance was gone, and her face was etched with anxiety and fatigue. Brooke hadn't changed. She wore what looked like expensive clothes and had perfect makeup, but her eyes reflected anxiety and caution. Why did you call her? Brooke raised her voice toward Gerald. Olivia, we need to talk, Martha approached her daughter. Let's put the past behind us. We're family after all. What do you want to talk about? Olivia asked calmly. You seem successful, Martha said indirectly. We're in a bit of trouble. Not just a bit, Mom, Brooke interrupted. We're on the verge of bankruptcy. And I have a trial. It's natural for family to help each other, isn't it? Martha used the same words from 6 years ago. Since you have the means. Olivia put her hands on the table. My company is successful. But that doesn't mean I have a means. I built everything through my own efforts. Please, Olivia, Martha pleaded. Just borrow a little from your company. We'll pay it back soon. You can't possibly pay it back, Olivia said firmly. Brooke's problems will just repeat. Olivia. Martha raised her voice. Don't talk about your sister like that. She's just young. She's 35 now, Olivia pointed out calmly. How long are you going to use young as an excuse? Silence fell in the room. Look, Brooke approached. I was wrong. I admit it. But if you don't help me, I might go to prison. Is that what you want? For your sister to go to prison? Olivia stared at Brooke. There was no true remorse in her sister's eyes, only fear and calculation. And in her mother's eyes, looking at her, she could still see the expectation that she should prioritize Brooke. You said academic studies weren't right for me, Mom, Olivia said quietly. So I'm also not suited for financial issues at the company. Martha gasped. She seemed at a loss for words as her own words came back to her. You were always cruel, Brooke raised her voice. Always jealous. Jealous? Olivia smiled bitterly. Of what? Your privileges? Your irresponsibility? Gerald stood up and stepped between his daughters. Enough, he said in a tired voice. Olivia, thank you for coming. I shouldn't have expected anything from you. Olivia stood up and looked at her father's face. The regret and resignation in his eyes pained her heart. Her father was weak. But at least now he recognized his mistakes. Dad, come to my office tomorrow, Olivia said. We have things to discuss. Gerald entered Olivia's office and was overwhelmed by the sophisticated space. The walls were adorned with certificates of her achievements and media articles featuring her. The view from the window was more beautiful than he had imagined. Sit down, Dad, Olivia welcomed him warmly. The two faced each other across a comfortable coffee table. Olivia stared at her father's face and, after a long silence, began to speak. I'll help the family. But I have conditions. Gerald let out a sigh of relief. Anything you say. First, Brooke must take responsibility. I'll cover the legal fees, but she needs to face the legal consequences herself. It might be probation, it might be community service. But she can't escape it. That's... Gerald hesitated, then nodded. Fair. Next, I'll manage the money. I'll establish a debt repayment plan and set a monthly budget. And everyone in the family must participate in counseling. Counseling? Family therapy. Our problems run deep. Mom's unfair love, your indifference, Brooke's irresponsibility, and my anger. We need to face it all. Gerald nodded gravely. I understand. And finally, Olivia softened her voice a bit. Dad, would you work for my company? As an advisor in the accounting department. I think your experience is valuable. Tears welled up in Gerald's eyes. Someone like me. You made mistakes. But now, you acknowledge them. That's what matters. A month later, Brooke received a sentence of 700 hours of community service at trial. She began working at homeless shelters and food banks, encountering the suffering of others besides herself for the first time. Initially full of complaints, she gradually began to recognize her privileges. Martha strongly resisted counseling. However, with the patient guidance of the therapist and her husband gradually becoming more assertive, she too began to change. For the first time, she acknowledged that her unfair love had destroyed the family and sincerely apologized to Olivia. Gerald started working at Olivia's company, and his solid advice was valuable for many projects. He gradually regained his confidence and began expressing opinions at home as well. Olivia took time to repair relationships with her family. Complete trust might never be restored, but at least they were now facing each other honestly. And she herself had built bonds of family beyond blood relations. Her colleague Tara, her benefactors from the hotel days, Rose and Davis, and special new people she had met. They were people who respected her unconditionally, genuinely rejoiced in her success, and stood by her in difficult times. Family isn't necessarily just about blood ties, Olivia said in a counseling session. It's also a choice. To rejoice in each other's growth, honestly recognize mistakes, and always wish for each other's happiness. I've learned that. One day, Olivia was looking out the window of her office at the city. She had come a long way. This story, which began with suffering and betrayal, had now transformed into a testament to strength and compassion. She had not only proven her worth but also learned what true strength is. It wasn't simply about succeeding, but about overcoming difficulties and still having the capacity to help others. Olivia smiled. The scholarship tragedy had ultimately led her to her own life. And now, she was truly free.